I'm here today at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe with the brilliant Rhys Nicholson. Hello, Rhys.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, amazing, thank you.
I'm on it's daytime. The sun's out, and I'm outside. It's quite rare during the Fringe.
It's a very rare day in Edinburgh, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, I've also got shorts on today.
Yes.
Thought I'll definitely embrace the sunny weather.
I will say, people from the UK, speaking as an Australian,
Okay.
as soon as it's above 15 degrees,
Is that right?
you guys are like in swimmers, like just out there, like really getting some flesh out. People complain about like a heat wave going on in the UK sometimes, and it's like, guys, this is winter.
Yeah,
this is our
cold
winter.
day for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
great. I'm gonna put a sweater on.
And you've been so busy in Melbourne as well. They've just opened, is it right in saying you were part of sort of the opening of the new comedy sort of club in Melbourne?
Yeah,
is that right?
my husband and our business partner Alex, we own a comedy club in Melbourne called the Comedy Republic, and
Nice.
and then I did my show there for the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I've just done a lovely tour around Australia and New Zealand, Australasia.
Yes.
Just easier just to say Australia and New Zealand. And now, and then I'm coming here to do the Fringe, and then I'm doing a full UK tour as well. I'm just going to say the same hour as many times as possible and lose my mind.
Yes,
So
exactly.
come quickly before I've lost my mind.
Could you let us know, what's the name of your show again, sir?
It is called Huge Big Party Congratulations. It is called that because you have to name your show a good 3 months to 6 months before you've even thought about what the show is about.
Is that the process? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And often I've noticed people name them very specific things, and then you kind of paint it into a corner. I just like vague titles.
Yeah.
And I only called it that because I got married last year, and my father-in-law replied to the invite with, in all capitals and no punctuation, huge big party congratulations, and it just got stuck in my head. Like the phrase, I couldn't stop saying it. I kept just, like, anytime someone had good news in our lives, I'd be like, well, huge big party congratulations. And so I just decided to call it, my agent was like pestering me, like, you need to name the show something, and I was just called it huge big party congratulations.
It's a no-brainer.
Yes!
It's a good way to live life.
It's a huge big party congratulations.
If everything in life was
The
that.
Festival Fringe, it's a huge big party congratulations.
It certainly is. It certainly is, yeah. And like you said, coming into your show, like you didn't really... And maybe the forming of that happened throughout the year, and you had to name it 6 months ago, and it's probably changed so much even from naming it.
Yeah.
Was it always creating that energy, that vibe of fun, a way that you were
I think so. Like, I think my shows, I always try and have a vibe of, look at this person trying to have fun. Like, which I think is kind of everyone at the moment. Like, everyone is like, we're on like the edge of a cliff.
Yes.
And we're just trying to stay on and that's kind of what I want it to feel like when you, like, in a fun way.
Yes.
But like, I hate the word like stage character, but every comedian has a version of that. And my kind of stage character is someone very close to a mental breakdown. Okay. And I think that someone who would say huge big party congratulations is that type of person.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's just a huge big party congratulations.
Absolutely. And so what is your show about, really, for like an audience member coming to it for the first time?
It is, I mean, look, like always, it's just me talking about myself for about an hour. It's kind, if I was to say, because my husband, he directs my shows with me. Like, I write them, and it isn't until I write and work out material, and then he basically has to tell me at a certain point what the show is.
Okay.
And he pointed out to me, it seems to be kind of about, we got married last year, we've been together for like 14 years, and now people keep asking us whether we want kids or not, and that seems to be the next part, and just kind of like grappling with that question. It's kind of the through line, I guess, and like deciding whether it's the right thing to do, and the way that we do, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if anything, it's just me talking about myself and how that relates to others.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But I think that's all stand-up,
That's what you
right?
want.
It's always hard to pin down what a show is about, because all of us are just talking about ourselves for an hour.
Yes.
Which I got a review once years ago that was like, well, it's a Rhys Nicholson show, so of course it's all about them. And I was like, yeah, man, what else am I going to talk about?
For. Yeah.
I'm not the Malala of comedy. Like, I don't have like some wild other story. I'm going to talk about myself.
I'm going to talk about myself and hope others enjoy that.
Yeah.
And sort of sharing that moment with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And as a show, like fitting in with moving it from, say, Australia, coming to the UK audiences, is there quite a lot of tweaks, or is it...
Not really. Like, it used to be, and now, because I've done it so many times, I kind of almost try and write shows to work everywhere. I mean, of course, there's like, change it to Tesco's and that sort of thing. But like, I also think we live in such a monoculture now, like where you kind of, if I don't say Boots, you know what I'm talking about. You know what a discount chemist is.
Absolutely.
But no, I think I try not to change too much these days, because then you end up having to, like, you're thinking the whole time that you're on stage, and you're like trying to make sure, and you're trying to plead with people to kind of understand what it means, and I don't really want to get involved in that. I do think, like, the way that things are at the moment, we're all kind of going through a similar experience, I think. Even though people, obviously, I'm not going to get stuck into the details, but, like, you know, we're in a pretty divisive time in history, but
Slightly,
I think we're all divisive at the same time. And so I think there's a lot to talk about, and we're all kind of in the same boat.
Absolutely, and getting to that stage of having a show together, is that like taking a lot of sort of like smaller comedy gigs to actually form the show?
I basically spend 3 months bombing around Australia.
Oh, nice.
Like doing little kind of comedy, like
snippets.
It's very useful having your own comedy club during that time.
I'm sure.
Because what are they going to do? Not book me again?
I own the place.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm back next week, no matter what.
Yes, I'm going to do 5 minutes over.
Absolutely.
But no, I try and, like, I'm one of those kind of, I think most people do it this way, like, I'll go on stage with an idea and just talk it out, and, like, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you do that for about 3 months, and then you piece it together, and, I mean, by the time I get to the UK, I'm always so, when people, like, my English friends and my Scottish friends that are doing, like, work in progresses at the Fringe, that's bonkers, like, to be in such a big, like, festival, to not come here with, like, a shiny thing is like, I've done a full 6 month tour before I get here. Like, I want it to be, like,
so you never
pretty
did the work in progress type show ever?
Not here, because it's like, I'll tell you what, a 21-hour flight is a long way to not have your show quite together yet.
Sure.
But you know, because this is to wrap your head around this festival is really, I think it's taken me like a decade, because you could be, you know, I've had friends, and, like, you could be, like, the buzziest show in the comedy section, but then the people in the theatre section don't know who you are, and the people, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a big, it's like a really, I think of this place like boot camp. Like, every year I come here and I get better and better and better, and then,
Absolutely.
it's a big convention.
And how many years have you done here now?
I've done it for 10 years. This is my 10th year doing it, but if you take COVID out of it and last year, so I guess 8? I've done 8.
And have you seen sort of I know you say it's like a boot camp, and you've seen that progression. Was that always sort of when you started out, you knew I'd have to go at this for many years to get to that sort of level?
I think the first year you come here, you're like, this is going to be easy and it's going to be fine. And then my first year, I was like, 23. And in retrospect, it was the worst month of my life, but I didn't know it at the time because I was having such a good time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was hard, and, like, I was in a big room, and there were about 4 people coming a night, and, like, and I was flyering all day, and it was like, I was going crazy, but I was having such a good time, like, meeting people and having stuff. I didn't realize what a slog it was. And then you come back the next year and the next year and the next year, and now, like, I'm like, I sold out my last run here, and, like, you know, it is the most hard but also satisfying festival in the world, I think, because it is also so enormous, and it's hard to make an impact here, but then you make these little moments, and then you also get to go see, like, you've got access to, like, the best art in the world, and also some real shit. But that's what, sometimes you got to see bad stuff to know what's good.
You've got to have the balance of
I've seen some terrible plays. But also just being and meeting people, and, like, being, like, hanging out in, like, the artist bars, and you can very casually meet your idols.
Yeah,
and that's
just walking around the city.
Yeah,
literally, it's like everyone.
If you want to see a world famous comedian very drunk on the street eating a crepe, this is the place to come. It's
basically like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, you can
they're laying on the ground.
They are on a rough Sunday, early Sunday morning. It's late Saturday night.
It is true that you can see, like, it's the ultimate level of this festival, because you will see, like, some of the biggest names in comedy on a Sunday morning eating a full Scottish breakfast with big sunglasses on. You're like, ooh, you've had a rough night.
Had a really rough night.
Yeah.
And now playing the sort of headliner acts, the headliner slot really at the festival. You're on about like 7:25.
8:25. One of those weird fringe times. It's like that 5 minutes really makes the difference.
It does. It certainly does. Now playing that in comparison to, say, doing years ago.
Yeah. My first year I was at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Like, and that was I did the last Monday of my first Fringe, and so I finished at midnight, and I could hear they were unscrewing parts of the venue. Like, they were starting to dismantle the Fringe. Like, I was on stage and just hearing, like...
Nice.
And you're like, I don't think there's going to be a festival out there when I'm done.
Yes.
But yeah, now, like, I think you learn the longer you do this as a performer that, like, you kind of have to... You need... I think... In order to, like, I was young enough that I could cope with that.
Sure, yeah.
And now I'm in my mid-30s, and it's like, I don't want to be anywhere at 11 p.m.
No.
other than a bar having a nice drink.
Having a nice drink, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And these days I live, like, a little bit out of town, whereas last time I was here, I was, like, in the city. You're in it, you wake up in it. And it is such, like, a beautiful and incredible festival, but it is also exhausting and makes you go dead behind the eyes if you can't get away from it.
And is the pressure still the same, like, after all the years? Like, I know when you started, you probably, I mean, I'm sure you, like you said, you were a bit younger, you were in town more, you maybe had that sort of, but how is the pressure now
it's
for you?
It's less pressure, but more like, the pressure becomes... Instead of trying to get people in, people come and then you want the show to be good.
Sure.
Like, that's what the pressure is now. It's like, as opposed, if people are coming, like, I'm lucky that people have come back to see me every year, and I sell merch after the show and I'll chat to people and they're like, oh, I've been seeing you for like 5 years. And that's really lovely. Yeah. And you don't want to abuse that relationship.
Of course.
Like, it used to be the struggle to get everyone in. And it's still, it still kind of is. I'll be honest, I'm doing an interview right now for exactly that purpose.
Yes.
But, like, I just want to make... It used to be the pressure to get people in, and the show was kind of secondary. Like, okay, they're in, and I'll just do the show, whatever. But now it's like, there's people here.
This must be good.
They've taken an hour of their lives. There is literally 4,000 other shows they could have seen, and they've chosen to see this one. Let's make it a good one.
Absolutely. And how do you balance, like, the stand-up? Because I know you're doing...
Drugs.
I know you're doing RuPaul Down Under as well, which is amazing. Yeah. You've been doing that since the last few years?
Yeah, we just filmed season 4, and that's been interesting here where I've always had like I built my little audience here, but then Drag Race is on BBC here.
Yeah, it is.
And so I get recognised for it more here than I would at home even.
Really?
And to the point where people know me from Drag Race but do not know I'm a stand-up comedian. And because it's kind of like, they just think of me as like a judge on a reality show. And the amount of times I'll be walking down the street and someone will be like, oh my God, you're from Drag Race. What are you doing here? And I have to be like, well, how do you think I became a judge on Drag Race?
Just inherit that role from life.
I didn't go to drag law school and start as a paralegal.
I think you need to start the law school. I'm
but it's been great. We've just recorded another season, and it I don't know when it's coming out, to be honest. I guess it'll come out at some point.
Yeah, and it'll come to the UK at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and you've also been confirmed. I don't know if it'll be broadcast in the UK, but but you're doing Taskmaster as well, aren't you?
I'm doing Taskmaster Australia, which I'm sure you'll be able to see like somewhere. Taskmaster is one of those things where audiences find it. Like like the fan base for that show is so big that they will find all of the... It's kind of like Drag Race in a way, where people watch all of the international franchises of it. It is the most fun I've ever had making a TV show. Sorry, RuPaul. That's a close second. But it was wild. Like, I wish I could, but I'll never do any other project like that ever again. It is the most, like, you have no idea what's going on at any time that you're in front of a camera, at any moment. None of it's made up, and it's wild.
So you'll be able to see that somewhere, I'm sure, in the UK?
Somewhere, sure. Absolutely.
Now, are you seeing anything else while you're here? Have you got any friends?
No, I have no support for anyone else in this festival. It's only about me.
Just straight home. Chill in the spa.
I don't even know if there's other shows on. No, of course. I try and I usually spend the first week not seeing shows and get my show kind of in order. And then, people, I try and see, I think being flyed is I'm sure locals bloody hate being flyed in this festival, but I quite like... If I've got time, I will take a flight. And if it's the person... Yeah. I always think if the person flyering is the person on the flyer, it always makes me want to see it a little bit more, because it's like, oh, I remember doing this. Of course. And you are so sure about what you're doing with this show. You are so passionate about what you're doing. You are willing to humiliate yourself to such a degree. Because flyering is I always feel like you should take flyers from people that are flying for themselves, because they're passionate about it, and they want you to come and see this thing that they've done.
Absolutely.
And if you do take a flyer from someone, at least wait until they're out of eye shot before you put it in the
just one little tip. But
make sure. And I always, my husband and I try and see, just see stuff. Risky stuff. Not risky, but you know what I mean? take a flyer and sit in a yurt somewhere, or like go to
Yeah.
a weird thing. Don't just base your choices of what you see off TikTok or how many stars they have on a poster or whatever.
Sure.
Just go and see things, because I say this at the end of my show, like,
Do
you go and see someone you've never heard of because they might be your favourite performer and you don't know that yet. And then you can be one of those smug people that when they're on TV, you're like, well, I saw them in front of 4 other people. And,
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people that's done that with you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and that's people stuck around even after my first 3 terrible shows at this festival. And that's passion.
Certainly is. Could you remind us, Rhys, when is your show taking place?
My show is on, it's called Huge Big Party Congratulations. It's on at 8:25 every night of the festival. I take no day off, and I regret it every year. I'm Underbelly Ermintrude. And yeah, come on by. The weekends are selling out, but come and hang out.
And what was the name of your show again?
Huge Big Party Congratulations.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rhys.
Thank you.
It's lovely to chat to you.
Lovely to meet you.
Have an amazing month. And
Hey, that's not up to me.
thank you.